2.4. All right, we are going to be writing linear functions. Now, three things I want to bring up that are super important are our standard form, which is written in ax plus by equals c. And again, as a reminder, we use this when we're finding our x or our y intercepts. Oftentimes, story problems are best set up like this when you're comparing two different unknowns. So we tend to use standard form and do intercepts. Helps us out a little bit. Slope-intercept form should be super familiar back from 8th grade. Y equals mx plus b. All right. And then we use that, obviously, when we are graphing. Just make a little note of that. And our last one that I really want to stress to you that I'd like us to use this year is point slope. It's y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And as a reminder, this one is usually used for when we're writing equations, hence the name. You're given a point and a slope. Plug it in, you are able to find things a little bit easier from that. Now, I demonstrated how to do that same idea using slope-intercept form in our last video from 2.3, but really point slope is our better, easier method to use. So let's dive into some examples. So easiest one that I could give you is writing an equation from a graph. So if we are writing an equation, ultimately our goal is for it to always read y equals mx plus b when we're done. So we need to know the slope and we need to know the y-intercept. So what's really nice is right off the bat on our graph, we can see that our y-intercept is plus 3 or positive 3. So I'm going to write that in the place of the b. And then we need to figure out what our slope is. Well, they have another dot drawn for us up here. So let's see, we rise and then we run for our slope. So I'm rising 1, 2, 3, and then I am running 1, 2, 3, 4. And my slope is obviously going up, so it's a positive. So my slope is 3/4. And then please don't forget to put your x there. Finish writing the equation with y equals. Okay, so the equation is y equals 3/4 x plus 3. All right, writing an equation from 2 points. All right, first thing you need to do when you are writing an equation from 2 points is find the slope. All right, if we are finding the slope, change in y over top of change in x. So if you need a quick reminder, I'll put those up there. All right, so order doesn't matter when you're finding the change, so long as you go in the same order for both the y and the x. So I'm going to go 2 minus -2 over top of -1 minus 3. All right, when I subtract a negative, that's like a big plus, so I get 4 over there, and then I get -4, which simplifies to -1. All right, so I have my slope. I have a point. So now I'm going to go with using point slope. So I have, write this down for you guys again. All right, so I'm going to have y minus -2 is equal to my new slope of -1, x minus 3. All right, so on the left side, I'm just going to rewrite this as y plus 2. On the right side, I'm going to distribute, so -x plus 3. And last but not least, move that 2 over, so my equation is y equals -x plus 1. All right, so let's do one more example of those because I know it's a little bit new for some of us, so it's nice to be able to see. So first thing we'll do is find our slope. All right, so -5 minus -5 over top of -3 minus 2. All right, so that turns to a plus. All right, -5 plus 5 is 0. The bottom is -5, but 0 divided by anything is 0. All right, if I have a slope of 0, we need to think about what that line really truly looks like. So if I had a graph, if I have a slope of 0, that means it's a nice horizontal line, so slope of 0. Remember that if you have a vertical line, just as I'm bringing this up right now, that means you have an undefined slope. All right, so let's go back to our question. So if the slope is 0, that means, again, it's horizontal, so we need to know what this y value is right here. Well, if you look at your points, both of your points have a y value of -5. So your slope is actually 0, so we can put 0x, which goes away, and -5. So there's your equation. All right, writing an equation from a table. Exactly the same as what we did. They just provide us tons of information, but we really only need, here's one set of points. Here's a second set of points. You can use whatever sets you'd like. Again, you just need 2 of them. So first thing we're going to do, find the slope. All right, so I'm going to go 1.5 minus 1 and negative 3 minus negative 1. All right, 1.5 minus 1 is 0.5. And on the bottom, that would give me, this turns to a plus. All right, so that is negative 2. All right, a half divided by negative 2. Now that's a mixture really of a fraction and a decimal. We don't really necessarily like that from being able to write an equation. So let's see, that would be 1/4 and then negative on there. And you can just do that on your calculator. Ask your calculator to change it back to a fraction so that it's easier for you to see. But we, again, have our negative 1/4. Now, if we want to write our equation from there, please remember that, again, we would just use our point slope. Okay, so we'd have, I'm going to use some nice numbers right here because then I don't have to work so hard. We'd have y minus 0, and then we'd have negative 1/4 and x minus 3. All right, so this makes it easy because you have y equals, because your 0 is gone. And I'm going to distribute, so negative 1/4 x, negative times negative, that would be positive 3/4. All right, so not so bad from there. Again, just be careful when you're dealing with your fractions. And again, you can pick whatever point you want. I picked this one because I knew it was easier, because at least I had a 0 value in there. All right, parallel versus perpendicular. All right, again, back to an 8th grade and an Algebra 1 concept. So parallel, same slope. Okay, so if we have to write an equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 3/2 x plus 2, and it goes through the point 4/5, what we care about, here's the slope. We're using the same slope. So we'd have y minus my 5 equals 3/2 times x minus 4. All right, so y minus 5. All right, when I distribute, I would get 3/2 x minus 3 times 4 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. And then I need to add the 5 over, so final answer, y equals 3/2 x minus 1. Okay, now the opposite of that would be our perpendicular. Perpendicular, the key word to remember, well, key words I should say, is opposite, reciprocal. All right, so what I mean by that is if you have a slope of, say, 2/3, perpendicular to that, opposite means you change the sign. So since it was positive, now it's negative. Reciprocal means you take that fraction and you flip it. So a perpendicular slope to 2/3 would be negative 3/2. All right, so let's try this one. Again, here's our slope. If we were doing parallel, we'd do the same thing. But since we're doing perpendicular, we want to change the sign. So now it's going to be positive. And reciprocal would be 4/3. All right, so let's go ahead and plug this in. We would have y minus negative 4. You are welcome to go ahead and put that as a plus right away, is equal to 4/3 x minus 6. All right, so y plus 4 is staying the same. We have 4/3 x. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 divided by 3 is 8 with our negative sign. And then just minus the 4 over. So y equals 4/3 x minus 12.